Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Shelly, the owner and creator of the Vintage Hen and Chick. In today's video, we're going to be doing some simple and fun thrift flips. If you enjoy trash to treasure upcycles, thrift flips, furniture flips, or crafting in general, make sure to subscribe to my channel so you get notified when I upload a new video. Let's get started. For project one, I picked up these cute little white birds at a garage sale. I got the pair for $1. And today I'm going to be using the color Serenity from the Dixie Belle silk paint line. What I'm going to do is make sure and I stir the paint up well because the silk line is a combination of the base coat, color, and top coat all in one. So you want to make sure that you stir it up really well to get everything combined before you paint. For the birds, there's so much detail on them that I'm going to use kind of like a pouncing or stippling motion to make sure that I get into all the cracks and crevices on these little birds. I like how the birds kind of have a texture to them, so that way at the end, after the paint is dry, I'm going to be doing a waxing technique that's just going to bring out the beautiful detail on these birds. Both birds are going to get 2 full coats of the Serenity paint, and I'm going to let them dry thoroughly in between before we move on to the next step, which is going to be waxing. And here you see both of the birds with their 2 full coats of paint thoroughly dried, and now we're going to start the waxing process. I'm going to be using white wax by Dixie Belle, and I'm going to be using a chip brush to apply the wax just because it's going to help get the wax in between the cracks and crevices and in all the details a lot better. So I'm going to get a good amount of wax on my brush, and with the same process that I did with the paint, I'm going to start stippling and pouncing the wax on the birds, trying to get wax in between all the cracks and crevices and the details. You want to make sure that you get your wax in the details because then once you wipe back the wax, then it sits in those details and highlights everything and makes these birds look completely beautiful. Now that all the wax is applied to the bird, I'm going to take a dry paper towel and start wiping back the excess wax, leaving the wax that I want to settle into the cracks and crevices and highlight all the details. So I'll just keep wiping with my paper towel, getting it just the way I like it to look, making sure that I don't have any big clumps of wax in certain areas that I don't want it there. So I'll just keep wiping, maybe applying extra where I need it until I have the birds to look exactly the way I want. And here are both birds fully waxed. For project 2, I found this double brass picture frame at a garage sale. I picked it up for 50 cents. I thought this would make a great project for some mixed media. So first of all, what I did is I took the whole frame apart, and there were some cardboard inserts inside, which I was going to decoupage on. So I took those out, and I'm going to paint those so there's a backdrop for my decoupage paper that I'm going to use. So here we have the two cardboard inserts from the frame, and I'm going to paint these both with Dixie Belle chalk paint in the color Fluff. I'm going to be decoupaging on these pieces of cardboard, and I want my decoupage paper to pop, so I'm painting the backdrop in the white. It's not a necessary step, but because of the particular decoupage paper I'm going to be using in this project, I wanted it to really shine through, which is why I'm painting both of the cardboard inserts with the Dixie Belle chalk paint in the color Fluff. You can use any color you want. The lighter is going to make your backdrop brighter, and a darker paint color is going to make your backdrop darker. So here are my two pieces of cardboard. I gave them each 2 good coats of paint, letting them dry thoroughly in between. And I let them dry thoroughly before I'm going to decoupage. What I'm using for my decoupage paper is sheet music from an old hymnal book. I like to use that because I like how the pages are yellowed and kind of how it looks a little vintage. So what I'm doing is I'm tearing the edges off of my sheet music here because I don't necessarily want a straight edge on my paper. I want it to be rough and kind of jagged to kind of lean towards that vintage feel. So I'm going to tear all the edges off of my sheet music until I get the exact size that I need for my piece of cardboard and for my backdrop for my transfer. I have my sheet music to the size that I want for my backdrop, and so now it's time to decoupage the sheet music to the cardboard. For the decoupage medium, I'm using Dixie Belle Clear Coat in gloss. Mod Podge would work here just as well. I'm applying a thin layer of the clear coat to my cardboard, and then I'm going to lay the sheet music down, brushing it down and smoothing it out with my brush and whatever extra clear coat is on my brush. I'm going to continue the process on the other side, again applying a thin layer of the clear coat to the cardboard and then smoothing the paper down onto the cardboard. Trying not to get any wrinkles. If I do get some wrinkles in my paper, I don't necessarily mind that because it kind of adds to the vintage look, but I do try and smooth it out as best I can to try and avoid wrinkles if I can. So here I am smoothing the paper out. There's a little wrinkle there, so I'm trying to smooth that out using the extra clear coat that's on my brush to smooth everything out. I'm repeating the process here for the second piece of cardboard and the second piece of sheet music, tearing it down to the size that I want, and then decoupaging the sheet music onto the piece of cardboard. Starting at one end, again applying a thin coat and repeating the same process, smoothing down the paper with my brush with the extra clear coat on my brush, and then doing the other side the exact same way. So here are my two pieces of cardboard that have been decoupaged. I let them thoroughly dry, and now I'm going to apply a transfer to both pieces. The transfer that I chose is from the Dixie Belle Cherry Blossom transfer. I picked out the transfer that I wanted from the sheet and cut it to size to fit each pieces of my cardboard. I really like the way the pink of the flowers kind of goes with the cream color of the backdrop of the decoupaged sheet music. So I'm kind of figuring out where I want my transfer, and then I'm going to peel off the paper backing from the transfer and then figuring out where I want it and setting it down on my cardboard. I want to make sure I try and get it as centered as possible. I'm just eyeballing it here. And then once I get the transfer down, I'm going to smooth it out. There is a little bit of a tack on the back of the transfer sheet, which is going to help hold it in place while you're working on it. Right here, I'm using my transfer stick and gently rubbing the transfer, adhering it to my background, rubbing it thoroughly to get it all stuck to the backdrop. And then once I feel like it's stuck good, then I'm going to start peeling back the plastic part of the transfer, and then the transfer is going to be adhered to the backdrop. So here I am picking up the edge and just kind of rubbing each spot as I gently pull back the plastic piece from the transfer. You'll be able to tell when your transfer is stuck because the transfer kind of turns like an opaque color, and then you can see the transfer is stuck below onto your project. So here I'm going to continue to rub with my transfer stick while I gently pull back the plastic piece of the transfer until the whole transfer is adhered to my project. As you're applying your transfer, if you have any part of your transfer that doesn't stick to your project, just lay your plastic piece right back down and rub over the area until it sticks. And then once you see that it's stuck, you can just pull it right back up again. After you've applied your transfer, then you want to burnish it to your surface. So I'm just taking the piece of transfer vellum and rubbing on the transfer with that and my fingers just to make sure that it's adhered completely to my project piece. So I'm moving on to the second piece of my cardboard for the second side of my frame, repeating the process again, figuring out where I want my transfer to go, removing the paper backdrop, and then placing my transfer onto my project piece, trying to get it as centered as possible. Once I have that transfer down, I'm going to press it with my hands and then start using the transfer stick to adhere it to my project piece, following the steps that I did before, rubbing till the transfer was stuck and then gently pulling back on the clear plastic topping until my transfer is completely adhered to my project. My transfer is applied and now I'm using my fingers to do the burnishing process, making sure that the transfer is completely stuck to my surface. Here is the completed project. For project 3, I picked up this candle tray at an estate sale for $1. I love the way the tray looked, I just didn't like the mirrored inside. So I'm applying a coat of Dixie Belle chalk paint in the color Fluff to the mirrored surface of the tray. I gave the tray 2 good coats of the Dixie Belle chalk paint in the color Fluff, letting it dry thoroughly in between coats. And now I'm going to apply a transfer to the tray. And the transfer I chose is again from the Dixie Belle Cherry Blossom transfer set. So I'm going to peel off the paper backing from the transfer and then figure out where I want my transfer to set on the tray. Once I find that, I'm going to hold it down with my fingers and then gently smooth it out, letting the tack of the back of the transfer stick to the tray. Once I get the transfer stuck, then I'm going to start using my transfer stick again, gently rubbing over the transfer as it applies to the tray. So here I'm gently lifting up the edge of the transfer vellum while I use my transfer tool, gently rubbing and peeling back the transfer at the same time. I'll continue to do this until the whole transfer is adhered to my surface. And again, if I have any pieces of the transfer that don't stick, I'll just lay the transfer vellum back down and rub in that area again until the transfer has stuck. I have the transfer on, so I'm going to burnish it down with the vellum in my hand, making sure it's good and adhered to my surface. I'm using a few pieces of scraps from the transfer, filling in some blank spaces on the tray. So I'm just cutting them down to size and fitting them in where I want to go. And then I'll just apply them the same way I did with the big transfer, rubbing it down with my transfer tool and pulling back the vellum until it's attached. For this blank space on the tray, I decided to add a bird in that spot, and so I cut out a bird from the cherry blossom transfer set, and I'm applying it to the tray with the transfer tool, and then I'll peel up the vellum and burnish the bird down once it's all applied. My transfer is complete and burnished down, so now I'm going to seal the project with the Dixie Belle Clear Coat in Gloss. And because this tray is probably going to be used for maybe some trinkets or to put stuff on, I want to make sure that I seal it well with the clear coat to protect the transfer and also to protect the chalk paint underneath. So here I'm applying a good coat of the clear coat in the gloss all over the inside of the tray where I painted and applied the transfer. After the first coat of clear coat thoroughly dries, I will be applying a second coat just to make sure I have a good hard protective surface on my project. And here is the completed tray. So what did you guys think? Let me know your favorites in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you are new here, please consider hitting that subscribe button, setting the notification bell to all so you get updated every time I upload a new video. Thank you so much for watching.